jam. Oh, here is our faces, the rookie mistake. So anyway, so basically now you also see us. And we have on the screen, we have also a picture of the swag stuff. So this is from the previous jam. I don't know if you see it, like my green screen is not liking the yellow there, but it is a bottle, drinking bottle, for the teams that signed up for the raffle. And we're gonna do the raffle right now. And then
we have our stickers.
We will also send those stickers to the ones that we have an address for that participated and submitted their games. So swag time. And I think that our lady luck today is Ville. Do you have your hat ready?
Yes, I have actually our next that we're going to raffle today, but I'm using it for the raffling the previous jams. I have all the participants who sent their information. They are here, and let's shuffle them a bit. How many are we?
You might be cheating because the hat is not now in the image.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't see it up there.
So I have 3 packages here at my home office waiting for a delivery.
So
the first one goes to
Leo Kremer.
Leo, you got a bottle.
Yes, and a couple more. Have the second one. We'll go to Abhishek Jaiswal.
Abhishek from the production team got a bottle.
Yes.
And the third one?
Third one goes to Roope Herpiö.
Roope Herpiö. Good Roope. You will get a quality bottle in a mail. So congrats for the winners. There was already a question that where did people send their info? We had a specific spreadsheet, or no, like a form for at the Discord channel.
Yes.
So take a look at that also for this jam. So we will have new swag coming up, which will be revealed now. Ville, do you want to tell about this?
Already. Yes, so we have I will put this on. Wait a moment.
A wearable. It's not with electronics, but
wearable.
You can definitely put electronics in it if you want to.
Yes, so we have lots of these here. They are all packed in plastic, so you don't get any micro.
Oh, did Ville's video just freeze up? Oh no, came back. Ville, we lost your audio. Oh. So the hats did something to Ville and now we don't have an audio. That's the funny thing.
Yes.
Oh, he's back, great. So more about the hats and the stickers. We have 2 stickers for everyone that submitted their game or submits their game. So just a regular sticker and an I made a sad game sticker. So you can put these vinyl stickers on your computer, laptop thing or whatever you have. Like I have huge selection of the stickers myself on my laptop. Okay. So I hope that people are excited about the swag, but more so about making the game. So Games Now is an online lecture series. We have a lecture once a month about different trendy topics in games. And due to the the corona time and isolation and everything, we can't do the face-to-face lectures at Aalto University campus, which are, by the way, open for anybody to participate, whether they are in a physical location, they don't have to be Aalto students, or that you will follow the lectures online. So now we are doing game jams instead. We usually have just one jam during the springtime at the campus, and now we're opening this for anybody who is interested to make a game. And you can make a game in a short time or use the full week. So you have from today to Sunday to finish up your games according to the theme. And let's just also give the address. The address is here. Sign up for itch.io. The games are submitted there. And then our kind of a talk shows will be happening in Twitch where you are right now. But also next week, Monday, we have another show with the same guest, soon to be introducing herself and talking about the theme more in depth. But basically, there was already some questions about the jam rules. So you are free to do whatever kind of game you want to do that has to do with the topic that we're talking today. You can use any tools. You can reuse something as long as you kind of put it in your jam submission page so that it's clear for everyone that what you actually put in there. We also ask you to put how many hours you used, because it's typical for a longer jam that people don't use the entire time for the development. So if you have less time, you can do like a 1 hour jam even, and just put it in the information of the jam submission page. So yeah, and then we use the Discord channel for teaming. So if you don't have a team, and even though you would do a solo jam, all the communications during the week will be placed on our Discord channel, which is for Aalto Games Now Online lecture series in general. So if you stay there after the jam, you'll also get the information of the new lectures. Ville, do you want to add something for the general kind of instruction things? Because we take jamming so much as a given thing. We've been doing game jams together with Ville, mostly organizing on behalf of Finnish Game Jam organization for a decade already. So we kind of take it quite granted. But if you have any questions, we are there to help you on the help channel of the jam. But jamming is pretty straightforward. You take the theme, you make a game, you submit it. It doesn't matter how great it is. It doesn't matter how crappy it is. You'll just submit it. So at the end of the jam, you have something finished. And you will be proud of it in one way or another. But it is a relatively short time to make games anyway. What else do we need to remind before we go to the theme itself? Oh, we lost the voice again. Ville. What is going on with your voice? I suppose you still hear your own voice though, so it's not a strange worsen, a mutation of the COVID.
Hear me now?
Yes. What is going on with dropping your audio?
I don't know. There's something wrong with my headphones, it seems.
Maybe there is a loose USB connection.
Yeah, I tried to check it, but no, I need to take it off and put it back on so I can hear it. Let's hope that it works now.
Prabhi from the chat is asking, is the Discord server open to everyone? Yes, it is. And we have one thing to add that just came to my mind. We do have a code of conduct, which means that you can't be an asshole. So that's you have to act nicely. Also, it covers the game. So do nice games, respectful games. We love joke games, but just be kind of tasteful in that sense. So the code of conduct is actually Finnish game industry code of conduct made by NeoGames, our export organization and internationalization organization. I don't know what they call themselves, but we have a shared code of conduct here in Finland among game development events. But yeah, I think that we're delaying this and we're taking time from the most interesting thing. We can add at the end, we can still give you a couple of tips and have a general kind of bullet points in the Discord channel so that you don't get lost with the jamming. For the teaming, there will be a spreadsheet for you to put your team, which means that if you're a solo jammer, there's just one person in the team. So we will handle you as a team anyway, and we will make automatically every single Team A Discord channel so that we can communicate to you and you can use it for the team.
Yes, we will share the link to the spreadsheet on the Discord channel.
Yeah. What else? Let's bring Elisa in.
Yes.
So our guest of honor for the second online Games Now online jam is Dr. Professor Professor Doctor, but yeah, we have been calling her Doctor. So it's Elisa Mekler. Please introduce yourself or say hi so that we can manage to hear and check your voice.
Hello. It's great to be on the show, I guess. So Professor Dr. Professor, I'm not quite sure myself. Last summer, I joined Aalto University as an assistant professor at the Department of Computer Science. My background is actually in psychology, and I research games and human-computer interaction, so here I am.
Hey, nice to have you on board.
Yeah, pretty excited about today's theme. That's very much my ballpark.
So Elisa has already given us a lecture on the Games Now lecture series, and you were talking about what's the theory called again? Self-determination theory?
Exactly.
So that's one of the areas that you research, right?
Yeah, exactly. So kind of two of my main research areas are around motivation in games and user experience, and the other one related to today's topic is kind of emotional experiences.
Yeah. Do you have other research topics than emotions in games and then the self-determination theory?
Several ones. I guess the other major one is more broadly meaningful experiences with technology or mediated through technology. And of course, games form a big part of that.
Yeah.
That sounds super nice. We are happy to have you at the Aalto campus and provide your insight to this world of like psychology in games as well. So excited to hear about your insights. So what we have been, the way that we've formatted our jam is that we don't have a thematic theme, we have a design constraint. And design constraint, you can also, this one you can take thematically as well. And I think that Elisa has prepared categories that has also like thematic things in this, specifically with this topic, obviously. But we do have this kind of lecture from an expert of that constraint. The constraint is selected by the guest of honor, and there will be games that we play and categories of that topic. So you get a bit kind of different views on how you could approach that design constraint in your jam games. And we try to make sure that beginners and advanced jammers could be equally kind of catered with the design constraint. So there is a depth from very kind of low expectations to much higher, something that people have not yet done before. So if you're a first-time jammer, that's gonna be fun. If you're an advanced jammer, that's gonna be fun. That's what we aim for. I'm really looking forward to kind of hear what Elisa has prepared for us. So we will go to the introduction. So we'll already have announced this on our channels. So it is sad games. But it's not trivial to make sad games, I would say. So let's hear what the design constraint is all about. So I will now give the stage and the voice to Elisa to shortly describe what is this sad games about.
Right, so sad games is about games that kind of make you feel sad. Maybe they make you cry. Maybe you kind of just feel this profound sense of disappointment about something. It was a pretty interesting theme to work with because on the one hand, you've got like very different games, like AAA games, very fancy games who make you feel sad, but also very simple games who are very successful at kind of getting this emotion across. However, it was very difficult to kind of delineate specific design constraints. But I think today's example will show that there are maybe some tweaks you can do to make your game kind of feel sad. But it's really like a combination both of the theme, of the presentation, as simple as it might be, and the mechanics that kind of convey this sadness.
And how about the categories? I'll give you the slide kind of for the categories. So there are a few categories that you've split the topic into.
Right. So they are fairly personal headers for the categories. The categories being the first one, the melodramatic category, the givens of existence. I'll be saying about kind of the meaning of the different categories more as we'll play the games. Then there's the category so sad it's funny, question mark, exclamation mark. It's okay to cry. And the last category I'd like to discuss is living and perhaps also accepting sadness.
That sounds so... I'm actually, myself, I'm tempting to do a jam game during the week too. And just looking forward to hear what could be the kind of things that I could find myself working with my limited programming skills. All right.
You already have a theme in mind?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what we can show you next. I'm doing the kind of... Yeah. I'll just check what we have in the chat. There is a question from Discord. Do you have to start from scratch, or can you use your own previous project as a template? This was asked. We're pretty liberal with the jams that we run. So as long as you make that transparent, you can use something existing. It's actually, I think that nowadays in the game jams, you can't really say how much already kind of ready-made stuff is being used. Some of the jam games are absolutely made from the scratch and they look like that you have been using something already made before, but this is a kind of relaxed 1 week jam. So I would say that yes, you can use it a template, but make sure that you kind of don't accidentally cheat the jam community. So you can be very transparent of it.
It's not a competition after all. So
we are very much on the kind of a camp, the camp of the no competition needed. It is already exciting enough to have a personal or team specific challenge for making a game and just enjoying making the game. So don't feel too fuzzy about it. That's not the right word, but anyway, don't feel too stressed about it. And we do give you giveaways, which is a raffle, so it's not for the best game. But one thing that will happen in a week is that the most interesting ones we will highlight in the review talk show. So maybe that will be a prize in a way to get highlighted. So if they have a lot of games, we can't really cover all of them in 1 2-hour slot. But we can try to highlight them in our channels anyway.
But it's not like a best games, like I said, it's the most interesting ones, and there are different ways to be interesting.
Yeah, indeed. So we like diversity in design and want to encourage people to not to just kind of confine into a current design paradigms, meaning that these things are good and these things are good now. So it can be very much like an olden days values that you resort to your personal take and whatever you try to, what you want to
try out crazy stuff and so on. It's always interesting.
We had a question for Radiant 94. We were thinking of doing something with feelings of guilt. Do you have... Oh, wait. Do you have any advice for that? So, Elisa, is there anything coming about guilt in the upcoming categories?
Although I think the excerpt I chose for time reasons doesn't really quite get it across. But of course, anything where kind of players have to decide on something consequential has the potential for guilt. And especially if kind of that decision comes to haunt them later in some form. Some games are pretty good at that. Some games kind of try to do it and fail at it. but kind of make sure that it relates to something that either is like very unexpected, but still really ties to something the player cares about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could start playing the games. We start with the category. Let's see all the categories again. We will start with the melodramatic.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
So-
is it Elisa will be playing the first one? Are we ready to start this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's go for the first game. I'm excited. So
All right.
go ahead, Elisa, and kind of
So,
show us the game. So what is the name of the game that we're playing now?
So the first game we'll be playing is Front Mission, that came out for the Super Famicom.
Yeah.
And let's quickly first start a new game. So for me, like I started, or my interest in sad gaming experience started with my love for JRPGs. So I simply had to show some JRPG, so Japanese role-playing game examples. And Front Mission is a more obscure game by Squaresoft, back before there was Square Enix. And I didn't want to spoil any stories for AAA games or current AAA games. So I figured I'm going to take like this really old game from the mid-90s. It's a mecha tactical RPG. And so this is the intro. And before I just named my character, I'm just going to, I think, load ahead. So this is from the first battle, and then this is one of the characters. She's on a reconnaissance mission, so spying on enemy territory, or neutral territory. This is the character, main character Lloyd, and so he's kind of checking on, and yeah, something is kind of off. Maybe as I go, it's important to say like sad gaming experiences, they're all kind of personal. And I also kind of like to remind you, like when I played these games, when they made me sad, so now I might make jokes, I would smile, I was kind of off. But when I played them back then, they had quite the impact. So just kind of be mindful of that. But
when did you start playing games, Elisa? Was this something that you played when you were younger?
Yeah. So Front Mission I played like when I was in high school, 12, 13, 14 years old. But I started playing like before I was 10. Yeah, RPGs are really a thing. And so importantly, so the woman we saw beforehand is the fiancée of the main character. So and he of course is offended. So there's a bit of opening dialogue. Okay. Skip through that.
So is the dialogue kind of one easy? Is it easy or is it not easy way to induce sadness or emotions into games?
Yeah. I mean, writing is definitely helps if you have good writing, if you have a good narrative, or kind of like emotive narrative. It doesn't have to be super complex. That can get a lot across. And then, but I'll also show examples where we don't really need more dialogue. Okay, so the fight started. So now let's try and save her. This is the bad guy.
Looks like very much like a bad guy, and the text is on the red background.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to know.
So, and I chose kind of the category melodramatic because, I mean, it's very over the top. There is no subtlety here. The music is bombastic, and I mean, now kind of trying to, now it's the enemy's round, and they'll be attacking her. And there's nothing really I can do, so there's this feeling of powerlessness. And maybe now this is not new, but back when I first played the game, I retried this mission over and over again, trying to see if I can kind of get there in time. and save her.
But as a spoiler, is that you can't.
Exactly.
Yeah. But does that kind of replay sessions actually also contribute to the emotional gameplay?
Replaying it, well, yeah, I think the kind of the futility of back then when I thought I could maybe do something about it, that definitely kind of made it more disappointing, or like a personal failure almost. Yeah, and now it's kind of interesting because it depicted all in the in-game engine.
Is she dead now?
Yeah, she is dead now. Yes.
Oh no.
No.
And by
Karen.
this time, how long you been with this character, Karen?
This is just the very beginning, so
Oh.
actually you don't really know the characters much.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting because it starts you right in the action, also like dramatically speaking. And what is interesting is that this relationship between the main character and Karen is something that kind of goes throughout the game, and it's in a way like a story of revenge and stuff. And so I just want to skip ahead to, so there are like 40 levels or maybe 30 levels. Really a long time since I last played it. So last weekend I replayed the final mission and kind of prepared the ending scene, which I wanted to show to you.
Okay.
Because it's very stylish, very melodramatic again. So you finally avenged kind of the murder of your fiancé, and so these are all kind of the main characters that accompany you. The music is very subdued, with this kind of flaming sky in the background, and
So is it typical that there are lots of these emotional moments at the end of the game?
Yeah, it's funny. So when we discussed the theme for today, and we'd say sad games, like the first examples that came to mind were mostly about the endings of games. Like especially role-playing games that also feature lots of emotional moments during the game, but it's always the ending that kind of has this emotional climax, I guess.
Yeah. You've invested many hours to the game, and
exactly. You really kind of get to know the characters and their relationship, and
There can also be like a sadness about like leaving the game behind and everything like that, and
the experience is ending.
Yeah. And so what is also kind of interesting about these melodramatic examples is they're oftentimes, well, I mean, the characters are exaggerated, but they are also kind of exaggerate both kind of the good and bad qualities that us humans can have. Like you've got the really virtuous characters, they're like courageous, or they sacrifice themselves, or maybe they're like battling their own anger. For me, kind of just seeing the ending sequence here again with the music and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of is a strong, very very emotional.
Slightly like organs in a funeral type of thing at the end. I try to remember this one like point and click adventure type of thing for black and white Macintoshes, and it had this kind of a funeral song always when you died. So I think that like they must be quite used, but it has stuck to my head because it was one of the few games that I was playing from my mother's computer when I was like in the elementary school, and I died constantly. But then the kind of the can't remember. There is this very typical da 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 or something like that at the end of the game. I think it's used quite a lot in games, and it made me so. I just remember that it made me quite sad to hear that funeral tune that I knew from other stuff than games before. So what do you think, like also the music here and then this kind of borrowing from cultural conventions of the music?
Oh, that's definitely a huge thing. So, I mean, I'm not an expert in music psychology, but research shows that like music in the minor mode, or here kind of like the Dorian mode where it mixes minor and major keys, is kind of seems to have like almost universally this effect on people. Kind of makes us feel like it sounds kind of sad, or this mix of hopeful and sad, which is kind of like interesting. Also, it's not just sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like taking the next page or leaf in your life or something like that.
Exactly.
Katsuma is saying that I might want to search for the music that's being used in this ending. It's beautiful. Yeah. So who made this game, by the way?
So the game is by Squaresoft. But I think I pause quickly here. But the music, that's pretty interesting, by the way, was composed by Yoko Shimomura, so who did Street Fighter and Kingdom Hearts and all these games, and Noriko Matsueda, who composed that particular piece. It's called Karen's Theme, so it's the name of the character that we saw got murdered in the beginning. And it's kind of nice because it's one of the few, especially like very early console games that were composed by a purely a team of women composer, which is kind of awesome.
So Leo Kremcher is saying that composer is quite famous. So yeah, it sounds like that. The Katsuma was saying that it is very beautiful. So back in the day, having really this kind of a nice composed music in the games, it must have been really great contribution. I didn't play role-playing games back in the day. I just played what I had an access for, but
discussing about the sad music, Cannon Fodder is one game which had this. Has this scene when you have lots of these small soldiers and they always die there, and then you have the graveyard where you can see all their names and there's sad music going on.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Just like Cannon Fodder, when you see the graveyard, that's kind of interesting because I played a tiny bit of Cannon Fodder and just kind of seeing the graveyard, and then it's got the names of the characters. That kind of made me feel guilty, even though the game sometimes felt also very silly or more like a satire. But that was like, oh no.
And the title music also, there won't never been so much fun, which is kind of.
Elisa, can we get your video back?
Yes.
Or do you still want to say something about the game?
No. Otherwise I would have moved on to the second game, which I would have actually also run on the emulator. So I guess I stay there. Just
so
kind of.
That would be still on the category of the melodramatic.
Yes. Speaking of the melodramatic, it would simply be wrong not to talk about a Final Fantasy game. So I'd be speaking about Final Fantasy III, or better known as Final Fantasy VI. But when it got published in the US first, it was called Final Fantasy III. And I chose this particular scene, so this is a bit of a spoiler. It's kind of from the middle of the game.
So please close your ears. If you are still planning on, you haven't played and you're planning to play the Final Fantasy VI.
Exactly. But it's pretty old, so maybe you already
we can
know
spoil all the old games, but people might still think that they play them on their retirement days.
True.
I haven't actually never played any Final Fantasies. I don't like the game mechanic of the fighting and stuff like this, but I've never been that much into JRPGs myself.
Sometimes the mechanics are fairly simplistic, but
I've also only played only one and a little bit, so I'm very inexperienced in the Final Fantasy franchise.
So here we are. Some kind of very terrible cataclysmic things happened, and now we're on this washed up island. It's just us, Celes, and this guy, Sid, and he's not doing too well. So as you can see from the dialogue, but he's kind of sick. But it's just the two of us. Like all our friends have gone lost. They probably died. And so we got a fish. Kind of, yes, okay. Kind of trying to keep Sid alive by catching fish and feeding them to him.
Oh.
Of course, now it's kind of a bit silly with the 16-bit graphics, and well, you see Sid is kind of pretty glum already, and also sick. He's coughing and everything, but we're trying to help him. And I distinctly remember, again, I was like 13 years old maybe. No fish right now. And I really like tried to save him. And in contrast to the example before, is you can actually save Sid. But I never quite figured out. Now there's no fish. Let me just quickly leave the world map.
So when you played this, did you know that you can save him?
I knew it, yes, because I was already kind of reading some walkthroughs, but I didn't, like, I always try not to spoil it for...
Right.
So,
this could be actually,
yeah.
This one scene could actually make a jam game where you have to save someone's life.
Yeah. So 16-bit graphics
true.
is really nice. I like the style of the old games, to be honest.
So, and I mean, it's like the mechanics are super simplistic. So I just kind of pick up this fish and then go move back to the house. Grinding basically. And
this is also the graphics. Yeah, I like it too. But I think there's nostalgia when this was the graphics when I started playing games back in the early 90s or late 80s. So
I'm not ready to empty the topic that is just nostalgic. I'm not a huge fan of kind of having the photorealism at the top of the food chain. I think this is like, and it's not easy to make graphics like this for sure.
I'm not saying it's like a only nostalgic, but there is like a one factor there. Like
it adds up to it.
Yeah.
So how long in the gameplay is this scene when the kind of
this is pretty far along in the game.
Yeah. So you're already very invested to Sid?
No, not so much Sid, but many of the other characters. I mean, also Sid. He's an NPC. Celis is one of the playable characters, and I don't know, trying to move things.
There's actually comments that I had no idea you could actually do it like a saving.
Yeah.
And we will go back and save him now.
I guess yes. Okay. No. Now I can't save him anymore. And this is the scene I actually wanted to show. So we couldn't save him. So maybe here for those who want to save him, that the trick is only catch the fast-moving fish. Only feed him those. If you catch all the fish and give it to him, he will die. But so I didn't look it up, and so now he doesn't. Yeah.
So is there a lot of like discussion? Like, is this one of the kind of design features that you have the reflection with a lot of dialogue at the kind of a death?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely. Then we have the music again.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you think both. I mean, because it's kind of heavy-handed. Where usually, like especially in RPGs, characters die because of conflict. They get killed by other characters, but that the character dies because he couldn't take care of them was kind of harsh. And especially considering at that stage of the game, we think we're the only two people left in the world.
Oh no, the music is so sad. I can't.
It is.
Oh no.
Now
I haven't even played this and I'm already almost crying.
And that was really interesting. So even though most of this is a cutscene, this particular scene here, I can control the character. But all I can do is walk up this cliff and then
So it's like an early walking simulator.
Yes, yeah.
Hmm.
And then it's kind of commemorating all the friends we've lost. And even though the graphics are very simple by today's standards, and Locke is her love interest, and it's just kind of like how she hangs her head.
Yeah. Is that like a kneeling position or
I think standing.
standing and then like head down?
Exactly,
Oh.
exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of easy for the animators just to have that in the game already.
Yeah.
Oh, what's happening? Did she jump?
Yes, yeah. Yes,
Oh, no.
yeah. So I'm going back to bit. And even though it looks kind of silly by today's standards, back in the day it was like, what? The character attempting to commit suicide? Well, spoiler, she survives. But
Good.
But I remember, so I was playing that scene before I had to go to school in the afternoon, and I was shaken to the core. I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And it felt so heavy. It was so unlike everything. Even now, it's something in a way like maybe it's like implied that someone commits suicide. I mean, it's a very heavy topic. I wouldn't want hey, look, here's your character committing suicide. But the way, maybe even because the graphics are so simple, it kind of, I guess, leaves more to your imagination. It just kind of, even though it clearly shows what is happening, it's not too explicit. And together with the music and because you get to know the characters for so long, I guess. I mean, it's very operatic also. That's why I included it in the melodramatic category.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess kind of it's like this guilt and sadness over what has happened.
Yeah. So you went to school, and then only after the school was over, you were able to go back to the game, and then maybe realize that she wasn't dead, or how did it work?
I don't quite remember because I was playing this particular game with save states. If I stopped right at this moment or just a bit later, where you learn that she survives. But even then, it's somehow this moment has kind of stuck out for me all these years ago. I haven't played through Final Fantasy VI since then. I started it a few times, but I never got this far, and still kind of that was a standout moment of sadness. Mm-hmm.
I was wondering like how much it contributes, like if you see the kind of suicide of the main character that you've been playing, so that whether it matters that how much you've invested already hours to that, because it is a loss to you as a player. So it's like all that work that you'd put into all those hours.
I think I would be more angry then. Also, I guess in this particular example, because at that exact moment, that's the only character you have.
Yeah.
So you kind of feel, well, probably the game won't end on a suicide.
Yeah. So you have the safety net of assumptions of games.
Exactly.
Because I wonder that the first experience that I had with kind of feeling the kind of impact of the labor or the players' labor was with Morrowind, and the more kind of there are a lot of rats and others to kill, so that you advance to a certain point, and there's like these ethical choices that you do in the game, and then at some point I had to steal a special or kind of some kind of an item from an old lady. And I resisted that because I was like, I'm not gonna do funny business with this character that I'm already so invested with, and the lady doesn't seem threatening at all, so why would I I don't know why I want this item. It was from a guild, so I just decided not to do that. I after that, as a scholar, I started to think that there is something really interesting happening there when you have already so many hours behind, that the character becomes a little bit you, or becomes a bit more important. So what happens to the character is a kind of more like a major concern for you. And even though if you would play with save spots or whatever, it would still kind of feel annoying to go back in the save files or save points just to make sure that you don't. Because I think that at that point, I think that the character that I was using was already kind of how it should be in role-playing games, that it's in my head. So it's not in the save points, it's in my head. So if I would go and kill the old lady, I would be a different character, even though I would just go back and say that, okay, let's not do that. So I wonder how much, like, in terms of your research, this kind of hours put into playing, because that's the thing that we don't necessarily, well, we do invest time in TV series too. And when there is a character that has been long and then they die, it's like, what? That person can't die. They probably will come back, I hope. So I wonder how much that contributes and how much of a big of a shock it can be. If, like, I don't know if it needs to be death. Does it need to be death to kind of mourn?
I think it needs to appear at least permanent, whether it's death or not. I mean, games are an interesting example because one aspect, of course, is how much time you spend with the characters, like kind of on the narrative basis, how much you get to learn or get to know the characters. Then, of course, how much time you invest in them also is an aspect. And I think I'd say if it's just the time you invest in, let's say, leveling up a character, then you're probably not feeling that sad if something happens to them. But I think if you really have a sort of emotional connect, for instance, by role playing the character or kind of getting a feel, oh, this is how this character acts, and going against their character just feels like undermining who they are as a character.
Yeah. One idea came to my mind is that, like, could be simple in a jam game even, that you would start with the cheery character. And then you would be like, like investing time in, for instance, collecting items or something like that. And then at some point, for no apparent reason, the character slows down, becomes like depressed. Like whether you would be able to, with a simple game, already kind of capture the relationship between the player and the character when you don't necessarily know what's going on. It's like, well, okay, the cheeriness is gone, and now what is left is like slowness, and I don't know, like something like that could be very simple to explore in a jam game. I don't know, but like suicide, depression, death, they're quite easy topics. I'm looking forward to see if you have other gambits in terms of the human condition.
Yeah, well, I guess that's a good segue to the next category, the givens of existence. Which is a term coined by a psychologist, Irvin Yalom, about kind of what are the things that mark the human condition, or that mark the struggle being human. And, well, death is one of them, as we discussed a lot already. But for instance, there's also isolation and loneliness, which brings me to very timely, unfortunately, and that there's a game that illustrates that nicely, even like in very simple terms. So I quickly want to show that. It's Jordan Magnuson's Loneliness. It's a little flash game, and the music again is very evocative. So I'm this little pixel down here, and I can just move around. So
I don't want to cry. This game makes me cry.
This end. Oh, they're all going away. So maybe let's join this. They're all going. Like, you can try to catch up, but they leave. These guys are moving. They look like they're avoiding me. It seems maybe. Maybe, well, just ignore those. Looks like a fight is erupting. This looks nice.
Radia is saying that this reminding me of the game Kids a little bit. Kids in Capitals. I'm not aware of this game. Are you aware of this game, Elisa?
No.
Okay, maybe Radia send us a little bit more information where to find it. What I like about this game Loneliness is that it's so simple.
Yes.
Yeah, and yet it's very evocative.
Yeah.
Piano music does a lot.
That's true. Just gonna move along a bit faster now.
I think
It seems that
playing this game now would feel different since we've been in a forced isolation. So maybe somebody could interpret this differently. It's like they're all afraid of you having COVID.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Good point.
It's actually like a positive thing when they understand social distancing and go away.
That's what I'm thinking. I did play
You
this
are
like
like
a few years back. And now it's like,
you
yay!
are the one. You are the one who just want to party with other people, and, and no.
There's only 2, and they also go away. This is so sad.
Well, I mean, even in the days of social distancing, like no one sticks with you around.
Yeah.
By distancing, they all leave in some way. We don't really know why or anything, and I don't think we need this. Oh look, this one looks friendly. Looks like it's telling us to join it.
And it's getting darker. This is also like very simple design feature.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is so bleak.
The team music does a lot.
Yep. So Radia is saying that Kids allows you to move with and against crowds until until everyone is gone. That's what it says on Steam. Yep. So did the flash itself? I've seen this also video. Yeah, there comes a text. Was there a text at the end?
Yes. So I phased this out now, but so the creator Jordan Magnuson created. He was a teacher in South Korea for a while, and actually many of the kids were feeling isolated and lonely, and so he kind of created that game to
communicate,
raise attention, to convey their experiences.
Yeah. So at the end of the game, there is this kind of awareness text that some percentage of blah 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 South Korean kids feel lonely.
Exactly.
I like the beauty, like the simplicity of the game when it has the title. It primes you. If you were reading that title, well, you can't really miss the name of the game. Well, maybe you can. But anyway, so you are primed with the title, and then at the end of the gameplay there is just small text. And maybe you didn't kind of understand what the game was about, so you didn't yet think that it was like about loneliness. But at the end, obviously, you will be kind of you get the emotional attachment to the topic of loneliness, and of course, like personal experience. Everybody has experienced some kind of loneliness at some point, so it's a strong awareness campaign. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, why those themes, these givens of existence, are work so well, I guess, in making us feel sad or emotional is they're very universal. Everyone grapples with isolation these days, for instance. Or the next game that we'll be looking at, I think Will be playing it. It's kind of what is the meaning of life and the passage of time, and how do you spend it.
Okay, let's see.
So another kind of simplistic game next up, and it's Passage.
Can you see it? It's flickering. Does it?
Yeah, I
Is
have
it
to.
still
I
flicker?
I think that I have to readjust it so that people see
Oh
it.
no. Now it is okay. I will go to full screen.
Oh yeah, thank
I have
you.
never played this. I have never played this game.
Oh, excellent. So I won't be saying more.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
voice it
there was
out.
some. I need to use arrow keys.
So people in stream, have you played Passage? Is this something that you know of?
Oh no!
Yes, yeah. So I
Oh,
mean,
there's.
all,
Now I have another one.
all the games I chose today are games I've played myself. I've played Passage like years ago when it first came
Yeah,
out,
Huh?
yeah.
and
Yeah.
even
This
though I
is
was
about.
not even though I was not quite sure what to make of it, it still kind of left this feeling of a bit sad and a bit empty.
Yeah, I like the
Yeah.
visual kind of solution of the game that the things that are coming up are these partial pixel items. I wonder if they
Oh, yeah.
have been first like a design glitch
Yeah.
and then decided to be a feature. But yeah, this is like
Yeah.
this is already quite old, but super famous.
I have to say I'm kind
Yeah,
of glad that Ville hasn't played it yet. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So again, the name is priming it. It's Passage.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean the name is very evocative. You kind of got those different passages to navigate.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like trying to fit both of them.
Exactly. Not like the thing is, so with kind of getting the wife at the beginning of the game, you don't have to do that. It's
Yeah.
a choice of the
Okay.
player, and then you can navigate much more freely through the different mazes here and collect more treasure.
But that was also like a good design choice because there was something you just walk forward and what is that? And then you suddenly get married. Like, oops.
So
Like in real life sometimes.
couple
Yeah.
of comments from the chat. So Passage, Christopher Lundberg is saying that Passage has played it without going down until some years later. And then Kachuma said, I have played this and I hate it.
Okay.
Your hitbox grows
Why?
when you find the girl and you can't fit in all places anymore. Oh no! It's the condition of life. It's like it's telling you that getting in a relationship is a restriction. Yeah, we can tell you that
Well,
too.
the interesting thing is I don't remember how the exact scoring works, but I think you actually gain more points for collecting stuff if you get a wife in the beginning. Kind of hinting at that maybe life is or at least from Jason Rohrer's the guy who developed the game, kind of suggesting that maybe life is more worthwhile that way.
Yeah.
But you might not fit all the places.
Exactly.
Aren't these getting like older all the time?
Yeah.
So Christopher is adding that you can collect more treasure alone, but you get more high score as two. Yeah, and in the meanwhile, there's been a chat about audio. So I think that Leo said previously, 99.99% sad moments. You are gonna talk about work only with the audio. Audio is important. We know that Leo is doing audio.
Not the wife who dies.
And then there's
Well, I
Not
think
the
that's
wife who dies. Now I get more
and then there's
treasures.
discussion about there could be also silence. Like, does Passage have any music?
not really, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least I don't have any sound. Or did I put sound? Oh, now I died. 439.
Like, because I'm thinking about like the role of audio in general. Like, for instance, the first Alien movie, I was like terrified when there's no music. So music or darkness that was used in Loneliness can be very impactful, like visual limitation and auditive limitation. Like obviously they tell the important things when the music stops or audio goes away. As long as the player can understand that this is not a glitch. So it's like, where is my settings? So understand that it's in game, not technique.
And it's actually very, very difficult to do stuff with silence in movies, and I think in games as well, because we're so used to music. I think that it was it? What was this old early 2000s, the Korean horror movie, which has not much sound there, and the producers, Dark Water. I think it was Dark Water, and I think it was a problem that producers first didn't want to have it with so little music and sound, but the director, I think maybe it's like a habit of using little sound. It's very effective.
I wonder if you would have what was the name of the first RPG that you were talking about, Elisa?
Front Mission.
So if the front mission would be at the end without the music, like a silent experience, like that gives a different message. Like if all throughout the game there would be background music, and then at the end, in the sad part, it would be just silent. So that's also can be super evocative.
Absolutely, yeah.
At the end,
it's
only
interesting.
emptiness remains. Oh no.
I think especially I guess in the example from it would be nice to try. I think it could, like, the experience would be different, but it would still be a sad one in that particular, because as you say, it kind of goes where it's like, okay, now it's all over. The war is won, but many friends have been lost along the way. It's not clear how things will continue. Emptiness and uncertainty is what remains.
Yeah. Prabhi Bhatti is saying that the skewing graphics shifting to the other side of the screen can signify how people in youth look towards a skewed future and old age looks at a nostalgic past. That's a nice analysis, Prabhi Bhatti, I would say. Tiny details again.
So that's kind of super interesting because when we're talking about reflection earlier, so recently we've been looking into art psychology and kind of applying this to understand gaming experience, and there's been some recent work on that artworks can elicit tears and feeling like crying when there's something for the viewer. So it's mostly about paintings there, but I believe could be also for games valid. That there's something to interpret, and when there's some personal connection, or where you kind of like this thing that looking to the future or looking to the past, we all do this to sometime in different times of our lives. Maybe we're so much focused that we don't really focus so much on the present. So again, there's something we can personally relate to, and coming to this realization, I think this is why Passage, even though I can understand why it's not everyone's cup of tea, is an interesting sad game. It leaves lots of room for personal interpretation of what is going on, and kind of coming to these realizations. Sometimes we're so preoccupied with the future and the past that, according to this psychological research, is why sometimes, we start to tear up or we feel sad.
Yeah. I kind of unrelated note, or going back, I got stuck with the first category. So would you say, Elisa, that the music at the end of the first game is making it part of the melodramatic? And if it would be silence, would that be still melodramatic?
Well, that's an excellent point. I think it's definitely the music does a lot there. I think the writing is kind of corny, so it still would be melodramatic in that particular case. But I think if the writing would be the dialogue a bit grittier, a bit more realistic, then it wouldn't be. Even with kind of the over-the-top visuals, it would be less melodramatic. Yeah, it would be more more poignant. Mm-hmm.
Did we have other games for the Givens of Existence?
Depending on the time, I have one more game.
Okay.
It's an indie game I want to showcase. I'll quickly open it before I share the screen. All right, and I just want to show a bit the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Yes. Here we are. Okay. So there's this phone here.
Is it called localhost?
It's called localhost. Yeah. You can find it on itch.io. So we've got this new job. It's kind of got this cyberpunk setting. And it already starts very gloomy. So this kind of robot shell. It's kind of like this visual novel with some minor gameplay. Got these different drives that you can insert in the robot. Like this softly malfunctioning, sickly and sinister somehow. And then also this, why is it so cold here? It already kind of starts on an uneasy note. Kind of maybe more creepy than sad. But maybe this is definitely creepy.
Ooh.
Oh.
The color palette is also very blue-violet.
Mm.
And so now we kind of inserted this drive, which contains someone's memories, into this robot, and the dialogue starts.
So Radio is saying that disturbing, I love it.
Yeah.
Nightmares.
Yeah, I like the visuals, graphics as well. Yeah, the atmosphere, and of course the music adds there, but. Yeah,
it's the color palette, like there's different hues of blue and purple. And what is kind of interesting here is of course the text moves kind of slow, but if you kind of take your time to read it, it's almost like the text is moving along to almost the tempo of if a voice would be speaking it.
Okay.
And so this game I just kind of wanted to briefly show. I don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah.
But I included it among the givens of existence because like another kind of givens of existence is identity. Like who are we? Who do we want to be? What is human? So cyberpunk stories, for instance, kind of like this almost it's a trope of cyberpunk stories.
Yeah.
But I find them always interesting, kind of the way they deal with that. Just going to show a bit. So so why do you talk like a human? So it's kind of all questioning the humanity of this character, of this drive. We don't know anything yet, or kind of insinuating, can they be love? And it's kind of interesting. So here in the game, where you can kind of come up or choose what is love here, and they will keep kind of returning to whatever you chose.
Yeah.
So maybe let's go with the kind of more melodramatic answer. But yeah, you see exactly how the text is paced. Yeah.
One of my favorite cyberpunk themed game is Dream Web, which is very atmospheric as well. Very old game.
I never played that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's.
And I mean, what's particularly kind of sad in this game, besides the dialogue, is then you kind of get your job is to erase those drives. So you just wipe the memories off, and now first you kind of get to meet the characters of the voices.
Audio problem, Elisa.
Between those drives. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got kind of a "Are you human?" So we got a robotic voice of you, kind of. Was
really? I didn't. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Was it so planned or?
You revealed yourself, Dr. Professor Mekler.
Yes. Oh gosh, my secret is out.
Yes.
Maybe that's why I'm so interested in talking about emotional experiences, because as a robotic entity, it's maybe more difficult.
So you're obsessed about how to be more human with emotions.
Exactly. Well, and then there are different points, and so each drive represents a different character, and kind of paints this very complex web of what is going on, and so this is creepy
no.
again.
That's a bit disturbing.
Was this also like a jam game?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's the developers Ether Interactive. Unfortunately, they don't exist anymore. That game was published, I think, in 2017. They did always those
audio problems. Say again the last sentence.
Well, that they always kind of do those about identity, age of technology, and always like very strong writing. But
that is also like a good option in a jam game to concentrate on writing and this kind of simple or very atmospheric, like atmospheric music, good writing. And
what would you say is good writing in sad games? What would be the pointers, and what would be the, I don't know, common pet peeves? Like it's very, very common to see very bad writing in games, at least in the early ones.
Yeah, I think nowadays.
Oh no, Elisa, we get your
way
robots.
More subtle and
Ville, do you also get this?
Yes.
Oh no.
Also.
Let's hope that it doesn't prevail.
How's the sound now?
Okay, now. Try now.
Good? Better?
Yes, just try now.
Okay, good. So I turn off the game. Hopefully it works better now.
Yeah.
I think you have to be way more subtle, or not, kind of more real, more how people really talk, especially with visual novels. And then, so I've been in choosing the games for today. I've been also going through some of my other visual novels in my collection. And what I really dislike is games that start with a huge backstory where the main character explains you everything that is going on in their life to you, the player. And that kind of feels because character. So they should know what is going on in their life. Yeah. But if it's kind of conveyed through dialogue with other characters, it kind of feels more real, kind of more like, oh yeah, I'm getting to know these characters and how they relate to each other. And I feel that kind of makes for a stronger mood. And if you go for sadness, then for a more sad mood. And also kind of more impactful.
I've been kind of always almost like a hater of the dialogues. I'm a little bit annoyed with Animal Crossing currently. But Puzzle Quest, the first one, was really kind of a turning point. Well, there are others with kind of nice experiences, but Puzzle Quest did a tremendous work of giving a voice to every single character. So they really stutter, they become live through things that you wouldn't like. This not because sometimes maybe games they try to be very functional, so you just write only the things that it's a necessary thing to read. But when like some orcs or something were like stuttering, and you can see that they're afraid or they're a little bit intimidated or shy or something like that, it really gives you a better connection with the character. But it's not easy as a beginner author to give a voice to that. And interestingly, I went to in GDC one year I went to a postmortem of a Puzzle Quest, the first one, and they kind of regretted that they did so much text because it was a horror to localize. So it took a lot of hours, but that was one of the best things in the game. And then all the other games after that first one, so I think that they have 3 or 4. They just recently released something on Switch as well. So they don't really get back to that. I don't know if they probably don't use the same writer. So it's very sad to see in games that type of a potential is lost. Because there is much more like you said that you're studying the meaningful games and meaningful experiences with games or meaningful experiences with tech. It's almost like the empty space in graphic design, that people are somehow ridiculously afraid to use things that feel unnecessary. And I think like a contrast between Disney movies and Ghibli movies is my favorite pet peeve. Is that in a Ghibli movie you might have a scene that will not be related to anything later other than building the character and the world. But if in a Disney movie somebody says something that is in a circle of the meaning of the whole movie, well, there's a little bit of exaggeration, of course, but it feels like that Disney, everything is paved. Everything is very useful and efficient in a way.
That is, I think that is typical in movie storytelling. That is something Tarantino did differently, because Tarantino has lots of these dialogues that people are just chatting about stuff and building character, atmosphere, whatever. Usually in movies, you always have to have some objective with the dialogues, and he has always been breaking that.
And I think it highlights in games, because you almost feel the pressure that you have to have this, like, you should push button A to like maybe go to that cottage. There is something for you to collect. And it's just so annoying, but it's obviously it's not easy. Like I've seen some jam games that they kind of get into too much of the writing, and it doesn't it just gets annoying if it's repetitive. So writing obviously is not something that everybody is immediately gifted. So you have to have several jam games or several writing things in order to get the practice of this. So it's not easy. Like we already, all of us been taught to write, but it doesn't mean that we are good in capturing emotions, for instance, or voices in the characters, because it needs reflection.
Then game writing, if it's not linear, then that's another layer of, even if you could write normal linear text, but then the game brings another layer on there if you don't have.
Yeah, I think that we have one lecture on the Games Now lecture series from Anna Kipnis, that she worked like 13 years at Double Fine as a gameplay programmer, but also like she was into dialogue systems and the difficulty of it, and how many options you have to kind of give, like avoiding the repetition and kind of meaningless experiences. So you kind of see the game and not the story.
I actually worked in one dialogue system in one game I made back in the day, a couple of years ago, and we had this dialogue system that which can have different paths after each dialogue, and it was quite a task to trying to combine all those lines so that it's reasonable sentences and everything.
So Elisa, you've done as a personal person, what is that? As a private person, you've been a lot with dialogued games, with RPGs, of course. And as a researcher, or maybe that was a assumption that is not true, but.
No, well, I mean, I love RPGs. The thing is, they take so much time that I don't play them really anymore.
Yeah.
So actually, these days it's well, I mostly play Slay the Spire, if anything at all, which is not very. It's a very mechanical game. On mechanics driven.
But you have an interest to also the kind of impact of the dialogues in the games.
Yeah, I mean they are so much tied to often to the themes of the game or what people find meaningful. They're not necessary, but they're very impactful. And maybe it's interesting that you mentioned this notion of empty space in graphics, because this reminds me. So a game that I didn't talk about today is Walking Dead, the first season. And kind of, I'm not really that much a fan of a game, and some of the emotional beats didn't really do it for me. But one scene kind of stands out, and I don't want to spoil too much, but in episode 3, Jack and Kenny, for those who play might know, and there's dialogue.
And these are the Telltale games, or
yes,
because there's also Next Games that does the mobile.
All right, yeah, the Telltale game, exactly.
Yes.
And you, as the character, you can like always, there's dialogue choices, but then there's the option just to say nothing. And that was very powerful for me, because things happened where there were no words, I thought, for what to say. And just being able to kind of take it in and not having to say, and because there was nothing the player or me as the player could change, and that made this is really one of the scenes where I not only felt sad, but I cried my eyes out.
Yeah.
So really, don't be afraid of empty space, to leave kind of the room for whatever, the events that transpire, so it hits the player and that they don't have to react necessarily to it. Because if we look at in psychology, sadness is kind of considered a low activation emotion. It's not like anger, like damn, you jet out and you react, but it's kind of this. You first kind of need to kind of digest things, so kind of make space for that.
Yeah, that's a great design gambit, that if you do dialogues, that also consider an option to give silence. That's very beautiful. I've never thought about this at all. That's very interesting, and also very easy to write.
Yes. Yeah.
But then again, there's always a rhythm, like how to rhythm stuff, and that's not easy. Like one of the hardest part in acting, for example, is like to have these pauses, just right amount. And
we're afraid of emptiness. I think that Ville, you froze, by the way, with your video, but again, maybe that's a great spot. Now we are in the emptiness of lacking of your video input. But
you can still hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe I could put the next game on. Then.
Yes.
Yeah, but before that, just Elisa, just briefly again, repeat to me, the givens of existence comes from a psychological theory.
Yes.
In
by
short,
a guy
what
called,
does that mean?
The givens of existence is what people struggle with, or the condition of being human, and this is meaning, isolation, our mortality, identity, and freedom, and these themes kind of they're resonant across the board to many people.
I need to put that as a list to the Discord channel also, that we remember these are the options that you could explore from the givens of existence. And the next category is, it's so sad it's funny?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So just click something. So Ville, since you'll be playing the game for the first time, there'll be some intro. You can just type something and you'll move along.
Is this Dujana? Yeah. How do you pronounce that? Dujana?
I switch between Dujana and Dujana. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
What's happening with this?
So Radio is saying that sometimes it's also the best option. I mean, maybe emptiness or empty. So many times I died in games because I decided to speak instead of letting it go. So Radio is hearing weird noises. Am I the only one? Is it the game itself?
The screen froze. Yeah,
It's a game. It's what?
Oh no, this is very abstract.
Yes.
Oh, this is very 80s.
I love this.
So I'm a big fan of this guy's games, Jack King Spooner, and he kind of does those JRPG inspired, but like very artsy games, often like involving claymation. They're very funny, but there's also something kind of dark about them.
I'm sorry, I have to stun.
Sure.
Hello, my
Oh,
name's Jack.
this guy is
I'm the
my
developer of the
twin.
game. I'd like to take this opportunity.
So this is the developer.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for playing. Now, this video at the beginning is randomised. Aye, randomised. And you're only going to
I don't
get
think
it
that we can
once.
really hear what he says. What does he say? I don't hear it, but maybe the viewers.
Well, so the video in this beginning is
This one I'm doing
randomized.
now, I'm going to tell you the meaning.
And it's true, I tested it on
underlying
different
meaning of the
machines.
whole game.
And now he's
So,
explaining the meaning of the
close your
game.
ears if you don't want to hear. The underlying theme of the whole
Sorry
game
about the cracking sound.
is identity. Aye, identity. Now, enough dilly-dallying. Let's get on with the game, shall we?
I'm not sure what to think about video in a game. I always not sure. Like, is this okay?
That was surprising.
So just start a new game. So this intro sequence really just happens once.
Washed. Exospace.
Is that a tombstone?
Yes.
Yes, I was trying to do something with that, but it climbed.
Paper mache.
And now, I don't know if we see the dialogue well once they start speaking. Yeah. Look.
Hey, Papa.
White
That's
sad,
very-
yes.
That was very straightforward. What is this sitcom? Oh, super arty.
Yeah, yeah.
Sitcom
So it's
laughter.
got this laugh track, even though very tragic things have been discussed.
Okay.
It also, yeah, it's kind of this exploration game and this very odd sense of humor.
What is happening now?
So this is the title of the game.
I love
now
that
it
part. I
continues.
just have to say that when the title and you can still move, so that it's not separate thing. This would be nice for jam games as well. How much of the sad games in this kind of like how much of them involves walking? I mean, that's a silly question, but I mean like this kind of atmospheric walking.
Well, it's a good question. It's true. Some of the games I chose today, it's quite prominent. I know many games, sad games, are very personal. There's nothing related to war. It's really just like the personal everyday struggles. But yeah, in a way, I mean, sad games often involve some sort of conflict, either global or personal. Usually, always like a personal conflict as well. But yeah, sometimes also with the backdrop of a global conflict. And for me, interestingly, games that mix with being very funny, often like dark humor and sad themes, like when they make me sad, it's even stronger. There's such a jarring contrast between the two. And both this game and the next one I want to quickly show, they're just...
Ville, maybe you could already stop playing because I'm worried that
Yeah.
the audio is quite high.
Yeah, I don't hear much anything. Okay, so that was interesting.
Yeah, also the style was quite unique.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're into kind of weird games, I highly recommend it. It's got also like very funny moments. Just a bit later, you can like get your own mecha, like giant robot to steer, and it's kind of this scatting music in the background, which is again very funny and weird, and these very sad moments. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Um,
That was
and I guess-
very very strange experience. I didn't understand much.
Yeah, you wouldn't firsthand think that you would put this kind of a sitcom laughter track on the background. But super interesting design feature or design choice.
Yeah, somehow the atmosphere reminds me of Requiem for a Dream now.
Oh, that's a tough movie.
A very depressing movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wonder if in a game you could also use this kind of a split screen more, so that you would see details. Like that's what the Requiem of a Dream really heavily uses, like close-up drug stuff and things like that that are at the same time very kind of choosy in the visuals. So maybe similar type of thing, that there is a contrast of the visuals, like choosiness or this kind of really evocative images. They're not subtle, they're absolutely like all over your face, and it makes you feel depressed about that situation perhaps. So I wonder if you could kind of, if you have like a couple of connecting storylines that the player plays, and then you could see some of the cutscenes at the same time. I think that there's one Nordic game that like a few years back that I'm not sure, maybe it was just an indie game, but anyway, so that you were working as a guard or something in a room with this kind of what is like what are the cameras on the streets?
Surveillance cameras?
Surveillance cameras.
CCTVs.
And you had to choose, so the stories were going all the time in the rooms of a hotel or something, and there was something really strange, like a murder or something happening, but you could only choose one room at a time to hear audio. You saw that there was an audio, but you wouldn't know for sure if the story was proceeding, and then you had to like use the things on the table. So I think that was like super interesting in design terms. I'm super sorry, I just have a condition that pushes me to move a little bit, but so that was just so interesting to see as a design feature that you can't at any time, unless you replay and replay and replay, to get everything out from the game. But it's kind of split into, so even like just the visuals and see that things are happening, you can't watch all the screens at the same time. So like inducing this sense of choice of what you put your attention to, and then something sad would happen somewhere. I don't know, like this intrigues me. It's not overused in games, at least at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
So it can create
it kind
contrast.
Of also, yes, exactly.
So maybe like put one screen that something really happy happens, and then another screen there is like very depressed person or something like that, and then you have to choose like what do you actually follow. Like the famous old movie with the guy looking out of the window to the next apartment. Can't
Back window.
Yeah.
Is it back window Hitchcock?
Yeah,
movie,
Hitchcock's movie.
Yeah, that is a great movie, and
yeah,
I've done an analysis of the movie actually as schoolwork.
That's why you remember. But I wonder, Elisa, would that also kind of be part of the category of it's so sad it's funny? That if you would build this kind of a contrast of things happening at the same time.
Yeah, definitely, because it's I think the contrast must become obvious, and then you can like go super dark, super sad, and people laugh, but at the same time it's like the laughter kind of sticks in your throat, because it's still kind of sad and dark, and I'm just gonna very briefly want to show one game. So, Lisa, the painful RPG. I just show a tiny bit because we don't have that much time left. But it's this RPG make, or no, it's but like also an RPG game. Indie game came out in 2014. And you're playing this washed up guy, drug addict. The drug addiction is actually part of the game mechanic. And it's almost like a subversion of games like The Last of Us. So you adopt a girl in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. There are no women left. She's the only female left. And you're trying to take care of her and protect her. And now we just recently met this guy, Terry. You already see the sprite of Brad, the main character, kind of looks a bit sad. He's a nobody. But it kind of is, like, the humor is super dark. The music is kind of quirky, as you can hear. And this is really just from the beginning, because I didn't want to spoil too much. But now the mood changes. I'm kind of going back home. And there's blood and
great response from the chat. People appreciate Lisa and like the series. And
I'm super glad to hear. Because, so, I mean, this is just from the beginning, but for me, this is one of the games that made me cry like nothing else, especially like the ending sequences and the last battles of the DLC. I didn't want to show them here, but where kind of the conflict between characters conveyed through the turn-based battle mechanics, together with kind of the narrative. I cried so hard, and it's one of the bleakest games, but it's also one of the funniest games I've ever played. And if you haven't played it already, and you kind of can stomach very dark humor. That's important, and very dark themes. That I suggest. Oh shoot, that's sad, dude.
This looks nice. I like the graphic style and.
So who made the game?
So it's an American called Austin Jorgensen. He also calls himself Dingaling. And yeah, it really switches so quickly between quirky and dark. So I mean, we can go in the house and you see everyone's been slaughtered. And you can kind of check out the children picture of a happy family.
Oh dear.
And yeah, so
the content warning is drug abuse and
domestic abuse, child abuse. It's really very dark.
Yeah.
And then we won't get as far here in the game, but so there's some battle here. You like there's permadeath. You can lose all your party members. There are different decisions in the game where you just there's no good decision. You can just do horrible things. And at the same time there's this really silly battle system. It kind of looks a bit like Earthbound. There's also a game that is kind of very effective at juxtaposing sad and funny moments. But yeah, the decisions in this game, even though they don't change the narrative, they felt like whenever I had to take, I really had to like sit down and take a deep breath. So because it's like things. Just a few minutes later, we have to go through more battles, so I won't show it. But there are examples where you kind of have to decide this first guy that joins you. Do you want to give him away and instead keep all your items or not? And in the context of the game, it feels very, very sad. Or like then maybe the game kind of feels funny at that moment. But again, this decision kind of comes to haunt you later in the game if you decide to let him be taken away. And it's lots of stuff going on there, and telling too much about it would spoil it. But if you want like a really emotionally affecting game, check it out.
Yeah. I will.
Yeah.
Also, Radio is saying that it's on the wish list now.
Nice. That's what I hoped.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
we go to the next category, or did you have one more game for this category?
There's one more short game. Maybe Ville wants to check it out. The Walking to Sad Pianos.
Is it?
Otherwise, I can quickly.
So
yeah, I can.
While Ville sets it up, a kind of a summary of the. It's so. Let me see. It's so sad. It's funny. So the contrast is important.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And this game, it's a very short game. Again, minimal mechanics. It's more of a joke game, but at the same time, it's kind of it's an interesting contrast. It kind of shows you can laugh about things being sad, but they're still sad. Even laughing about it doesn't quite take the sting out of them.
Ville, can you get it full screen?
Maybe.
I don't think so.
Okay,
not...
I'll resize it.
So maybe, and the funny thing is we don't hear it now, but the game's called Walking to Sad Pianos while pressing W is because there's this outrageously sentimental piano music in the playing in the background. And
I can check if I can.
Well, I mean, otherwise the game is available for free. It's a browser-based game on itch.io.
Yeah.
Walking to Sad Pianos while playing. It's 5 minutes. So if someone wants to check it out for themselves, then we don't need to spoil the surprise.
Yeah.
We can go.
Again, music.
But it's also music, but also kind of dialogue and what is happening in the game, and there's this very clashing contrast between funny and sad moments, which kind of make the sadness stand out even more.
Okay.
So...
and then the next category.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Right.
To cry.
So it's So I chose this category because this is the only game I found that is specifically about crying, and also that it's okay to do so. I think crying in many ways is still frowned upon. It's kind of like considered a sign of weakness in many ways. But the kind of game about crying specifically, that would be great for a jam game. And here it's okay to cry. It's well, you're playing the tears.
Yeah.
And it was made in Bitsy, which is this nice game engine to create small little personal games.
And this is super clever use of Bitsy, because Bitsy just is this kind of room-to-room type of what would I say about the genre? Adventure game, like adventure in itself.
Yeah, but it's also like super versatile.
Yeah.
So really, really cool stuff.
So
and what I like about this,
Ville, show us what you can move.
What?
Is the tier? It's the light blue tier that now drops. Is it your character? Okay.
Yes, that is the only thing. I just press arrow down and or stroke screen. It just, but just the arrow and it just. Here is your character.
Can you voice it out? What does it say in the dialogue?
Yeah, but now let's see. Oh, the other tier drop also. Crying helps lower your blood pressure according to a chain email my friend Amy sent me circa 2004.
Yeah, so again, it's still kind of funny here and there, even though.
I find a new understanding of myself when I cry. I feel the knots in my muscles gently untangle beneath my skin.
I think this is a perfect category for us to take also the sad games topic as a positive topic for a jam game or any game. I mean, us Finns, at least, we are very familiar with the blue emotions, if we can use colors in this way. I think it's important to, like, personally, I believe like that. Maybe Elisa, you can tell from the perspective of research of emotions that you don't block the emotions that are negative. Well, obviously, you should not go around and kill people or something like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I mean, like,
yeah.
to be able to feel also sadness, or like in this isolation mode, you easily feel depressed because you are in a cage, in a way. But what does the research say about that?
I mean, so the research does show that kind of suppressing emotions, negative emotions, is maladaptive in the long run in different ways, and kind of, you know, even just acknowledging that you kind of feel maybe depressed or sad these days, or also angry, without going around and punching people, goes a long way already. And I mean, media and also games are kind of interesting because they kind of let you experience these emotions vicariously. You might even be able to punch someone in the game, where who generally makes you angry and sad. And Lisa, for instance, has a scene like that. Research shows like, at least express your feelings, acknowledge them. It's better than to keep them under the lid.
So how about if we think about games that are like therapeutic? So for instance, the depression game, and then maybe the dragon that cancer, that dragon.
That dragon cancer.
Can never remember which way. So I think that those are made therapeutically. So what do we think about that kind of like games as a medium of expression? Because I'm a big believer that we don't need to be professional game makers in order to use games to express ourselves and then share those experiences, because it's a different platform than writing or visual arts, for instance, or mere visual arts. So I mean, I'm pretty sure that some of the jam games from this jam will be about COVID or isolation or kind of fear of death in a machine of the intensive care or something. I don't know, like a sadness of things that happened right now. So I wonder what is the power of making games in terms of also expressing that you're sad and not like super cheerful currently.
So currently there's no research yet kind of showing the impact that making games might have on our well-being and coping with difficult experiences. There's lots of research kind of in the realm of art psychology that's showing that making art, engaging in artistic practice, does help. And there's some lovely research, even though it's not clinical or anything, very different, but by Sandra Danilovic. She's a professor at Wilfrid Laurier in Canada, and she coined this terms therapeutics, or therapeutic game making. So like therapeutic, but it's also this poetry that is involved. And she does fascinating work on how game makers express themselves and their personal struggles in their game making and in their games. So if you're interested in that and kind of want to find a few more examples, like, check out her work.
Yeah. So poetic games.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that maybe this is a good bridge for the last category.
Yes.
Exactly. So do we have time for 2 more games?
Yes, we
Then
can go a bit over time. I'm pretty sure that people are fine. You can obviously leave any time if you run out of time. Not you guys, Ville and Elisa, please stay. but the viewers, you're free to go anytime. I think it's super interesting topic.
Yes. And I will be playing the next game, but what is our category?
So it's living with sadness and perhaps also accepting it, which I think is kind of a nice way of closing our discussion today and segues nicely from the discussion we just had kind of on the therapeutic potential of games and sad games.
So living with and accepting sadness, and this is Diaries of a Spaceport Janitor, and Ville is trying to set it up. Ville, by the way, put already a sticker on his cap. And have you made a sad game? Is that even true?
Yes, I have. I have made a sad game. The one I mentioned, it is quite sad. It's quite sad educational games I have made.
I have different connotations for sad educational games and not necessarily part of Elisa's
Well,
categories.
they are sad in every sense, to be honest, but...
Oh, no. Yeah.
I need to share the
But,
pools.
you know, what's kind of interesting is maybe speaking about design constraints for sad games. So I never participated in the game jam myself, but I played around a bit with RPG Maker and RenPy, so some game engines. And I started creating this game. I never got far, which kind of was like a dating sim. So, you know, usually where you hit on girls and you try to kind of win their favors, and then the one that likes you most kind of becomes your girlfriend or your boyfriend, depending on the sort of game. So I tried that, but I kind of wanted to subvert the player's expectations. So it starts out with the main character being like overly loved in an unrequited love towards another character. The game is about trying to fall out of love little by little with that character.
Nice twist.
I still think I should eventually return to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you should cheat.
Nice.
Oh, this looks beautiful.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. How to play.
Well, you can start a new game. There's relatively not much to do.
Fresh.
So how recent is this one?
This came out, I need to check again, 5 years ago, maybe.
This looks like Tulhu.
So Radia is planning on a sad educational game, actually. Yeah, but hopefully not sad in terms of being a sad. Well, in a jam, you can do also a game that is not super great. But you know, that was like my joke that some of the educational games are really awful. So you get sad about game design. But if is it about so maybe Radia can explain, will it be about emotions or about sadness and educating that, or it can be sad.
Nice.
So last time with Samuli we were looking at this kind of like simplistic tutorials, and this is perfect. Like you get the vast actually as a compass type of way for the character. This is super nice. Just a very off topic, but
exactly. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And so, as the name says, you play a spaceport janitor. So you walk around and pick up trash. But it's in this kind of, it's almost psychedelic fantasy world or space station. And there's always, like, there's different items you can collect. And I mean, so this is the very beginning, and it can be a bit disorienting. But so the thing is, adventure beckons. There's this dungeon here you can access, but you first need to get some item to go in there.
Yeah.
And well, anyway, so after you manage to get into the dungeon, you get cursed. And to get rid of the curse, you kind of need to grind up your character by burning trash and collecting items. But all the items are outrageously expensive. And you earn very little money. You need to eat. Most of your money goes on keeping yourself fed. Yes, exactly. So you can buy the item to get into the dungeon from this character. And the game hints at that there's a grander adventure awaiting you. Right. But essentially, I'm kind of giving away the main gist of the game. you will never make enough money to go on adventure, because the system that surrounds you, the environment, it doesn't allow for people like you. You never will be able to make enough money. And then also what is very interesting, so there will be moments in the game where you feel bad and you need to get a gender surgery. But they're like all kinds of different fantasy genders there. But it's kind of like also this metaphor on what's it like with, when you're gender dysphoric. And how it can be very alienating. You in a world like nobody gives a shit about you. You don't earn enough money.
Yeah.
So, and there's no way out. And the thing is,
this is trying to change the first person actually.
Yeah.
It's very loud, and maybe we can go to the.
No, we can't hear your audio, so it's fine. Also a bit sad, but still.
But I can't hear anything.
Now we see your Discord.
So,
yes.
Well, I guess, what is interesting about the game, you have to live with the sadness. Like once you realize, now you know, but you'll never get enough. You never go on adventures. It's very sad.
Yeah.
But I also had, like many people I talk with, also YouTube analysis, they found the game very positive because it kind of makes you accept this. There's a beauty in just exploring the space station and all its quirky characters, even though you will never go on quests or whatever, but just kind of the simple joys of being in the world. So there's this interesting message between things are sad, you cannot change, the system in the game is oppressive, you will never change it. It's not a power fantasy.
But almost like an opposite to the animation series Adventure Times, because you always go to an adventure.
Exactly.
And you always win.
Exactly.
So yeah. I wonder, like, how far in the game, or is it already somehow, so it's not a big spoiler that you don't get to the quests, so how far in the game you have to go that you realize that this is never happening?
I mean, it depends on you. The game never outright states it.
Yeah.
There are also, like, you maybe saw like some of those characters in Dark with guns. Sometimes they will just rob you of your money. And they like the militia of this place. And so it doesn't take long to figure this out.
Okay.
But
oh my God, it's
I know
so
many
depressing.
People, yeah. But there's this weird beauty to it, and you kind of start. Yeah, there's something I really appreciate this game.
I wonder whether this could be really badly adopted to a jam game, because it's almost like when there are certain things that can be done interestingly. So for instance, writing a story where everything was a dream, but you as a high school kid, you easily abuse that because it's an easy way out of the stupid story that you wrote. It's like all sorts of things happened, but it was all a dream. So I wonder if that kind of thing where maybe, I could easily see it that you start with a jam game and you want to have an adventure system, but then in the end you end up not allowing the players to ever go there because you never implemented it. So it can also, like this, I would be super careful in making these oppressive experiences for the for the player. But it, like, done right, it can be really, like, if it's just this kind of a grind and you realize that there is no way, everything is so expensive, everybody's robbing you, that there is no hope in getting to the things that are promised. Obviously, not a big spoiler at this moment, but like Portal is using this in a way in the narrative. So I don't know what to think of it. It can be done really well, but in the hands of someone who doesn't abuse that. But then at the same time, in a jam game, you could explore it if you could be able to build something meaningful out of that kind of a design feature or design convention. I would love to see if you are able to do that. Yeah. So Was there another game for the same category?
Yes, I have one last game I want to show today. I just started playing it yesterday. I got it for this discussion today. It's called The Longing.
Yeah.
And
this is a very good looking game.
Yes. And the interesting thing, it's a mix between an adventure game and an idle game. And so you play...
Is Cookie Clicker a sad game?
Well, Cookie Clicker is a depressing game, but maybe not a sad game. Because and that being said, I played lots of Cookie Clicker recently. So in this, you play this little guy. He's the servant of this sleeping king, and you have to wait 400 real-life days until you can wake the king.
Oh no!
And the time keeps ticking while you're like away from the game. You see the character walks very slowly, and there's this massive cave to explore, and in a way there's very little to do at first, and so there's music, but I turn it off because it's so loud. But you can like craft stuff, collect different items. I'm going to go back now so you can collect different items and then use that to do stuff in your lit room. But they're also like, I wouldn't call them puzzles because there's actually not that much you can do as a player. But for instance, there's like there's this edge, and it tells you can jump down, but like it's too dangerous now. But it says, oh, there's a bed of moss growing there. It will take probably a week until the moss has grown enough. And then a week later, like a real life week, you go there, you can jump down, and then you can access new areas of the game. And for me, like starting to play this game really struck a chord now, especially these times where we're kind of stuck at home. Can't really go out, especially me. So I moved to Finland last summer. I'm still pretty new here. I don't know that many people. So it kind of feels a bit isolating. But again, so in this game, what is really interesting, it's even though like all the players explore the same areas, there's something very personal about the experience where you like very slowly just choose, I'm going to walk this way or that way. Keep a note of that. And also like, these days will pass, 400 days will pass.
Yeah.
And gonna keep yourself busy. And so here, this is my room. It's pretty sad right now, but you see kind of this image I hung here. I created this yesterday. And what is really interesting, so if you draw, you play music, or there are real books here. If you want to read Moby Dick, it's here in its entirety. But it was really interesting. So, for instance, if I'm going to draw something here, because I've got a few new colors, and like the pictures are, the images are like also super weird and creepy. And now it kind of draws this image almost in real time. So you just kind of sit there and idle, or you can do something else. You can also turn off the game and return.
We once did a jam game in let's say 0 hour game jam. We did a game about it was called Watch a Parsnip Grow in real time. So you had to play 2 weeks or something of that game, and the window had to be active actually. So nobody probably ever played it, but it was. I don't know how many games actually. Like I kind of love and hate the fact that Animal Crossing is tied to the actual time, like unless you do cheats. But this is like extreme. Yeah. And the thing is, what is really interesting, I don't know if you noticed, but now we're in the room, we've got already a bit of decoration. If you look at the timer up here, you look at the seconds,
And you see how it's not 1 second after the other. Sometimes it skips one. If you're in your room and you've got decorations that you kind of take care of it, time passes faster.
Wow.
Because it's a feeling like if you do something with your life, you know,
Right.
even the bad times, like time passes, do something with your life.
Yeah.
Well, that is
Don't
interesting.
Yeah, don't just mope around.
So did you notice this yourself while playing, or was it like somewhere stated? I wonder, I would never be attentive
It's
enough.
really funny. I didn't notice it, but someone else was watching me play, and he's like, "Oh, the time is passing faster." And they're like,
every other
"What?
second.
No." And it's like, "Oh, yeah, it does."
Yeah, every other second is 2 seconds actually.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is, so if you leave your room again, then time again passes in real time. And so again, I just started playing this game yesterday morning. But my assumption is if you like really take care and you know, create a nice little cave apartment for your character, then time probably passes even more quickly.
How is this a sad game?
Well, it's a very lonely game, and sometimes the character comments on how they're alone. They have no contact to other characters. They just wait here. There's nothing to do really. So and there's something about this context of boredom. He cannot get out. Well, maybe kind of the game hints at this, but it's not clear. And now, yeah, I turned off the music, but the music is also kind of, there's something a bit, again, yes, not organ music, but kind of inspired by organ music, a bit church-like. At on the one hand, there's these vast caves and monuments, and you're this tiny little character, so you feel very insignificant. Together with this sense of loneliness and this, when will this time ever end? That feels very oppressive. But interestingly, in playing the game, in exploring the caverns and kind of taking care, there's something, or at least to me, it's definitely not for everyone, this game. Again, there was something hopeful in a way, or kind of like, okay, yes, there are sad moments, there are depressing moments, but you can live with those. And it's not easy necessarily to accept them, but it's possible.
So did I already ask when was this made?
This came out this year.
Yeah.
In March.
March.
Yeah.
And where, like, who did it?
So it's by a German team. They're called Studio Seufzt, and Seufzt in German means sighing, or the sigh. So it's already like the studio name is kind of sad.
I wonder, like, did they, like, was this just a mistake? Like, they probably already developed this so much before, but this is so timely. Like, this is really, really interesting to see.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
I think it really just came out March or maybe in April, but like really, really new.
Yeah. Well, if you are unemployed or isolated and you can't really just do anything, maybe you would be able to do something really fast. And I don't know how much depth there is into this, and will there be like updates, or is all the content already in?
Good question. I think, as far as I know, for now all the content is in. And again, I think this game's interesting example of, or extreme example. Yes, okay, so now he actually makes that comment. So I can like put that here.
Hey.
And now the time, I guess, passes a teeny tiny bit faster.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, I mean, if I as a player am kind of bored of this, then I can just, keep the character here in his room. And return in a week, and more than a week in the game will have passed, because for the character with the drawings, time will have passed a bit more quickly.
Yeah.
Double as fast already, so it should take 200 days anymore.
Exactly.
Wille, you froze.
So,
but this is very interesting, and I would really be interested to even see someone's clone from a game jam of ours to this, like something that goes really.
Oh, no.
And by the way, when the character walks, it reminds me of the New Year's Eve movie that we see every year in Finnish TV. Was it The Butler? What's the name of that movie?
Dinner for One.
Dinner for One, yes.
Oh yeah.
So the butler is pretty ancient and is going really slowly, but does really good work. So it kind of reminds me of that. But even kind of explore this notion of time in this interesting way in a jam game would be very doable.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. I mean, there's technically, and if you read also time goes by more quickly. There's technically like a lot to explore in the game, but the character moves so slow. So in a way, there's lots of empty space, and it kind of, as a player, it kind of lets you reflect and take in the atmosphere, or even just kind of get lost in your own thoughts. And I found this, like, I was really struck yesterday when I played this that how much of an impact it left on me.
Super interesting find. I realized that it's not easy to clone this game though, because you would have to play it. It might take a while for you to understand what's the best part of it, but to explore something.
Well, I think the idle game mechanic, that's really interesting. It's something we're so used to idle games being these kind of always on mindless things and but kind of subverting also players' expectation, like, oh, this is what you can do with idle game mechanics. With this waiting mechanic, and that's, I think, super interesting. It's very surprising, but and this I think there's still a lot that could be done.
It leaves me so wordless. I mean, speechless. Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's kind of it feels like I really want to try this game to get the experience. You have to kind of commit to it. To explore it. So let's go back to the list of all constraints.
Yes.
So the melodramatic, the givens of existence, so sad it's funny, it's okay to cry, and living with and accepting sadness. So what would be, Elisa, your summary of all these things?
Well,
always easy to summarize everything.
Sadness, I think the important thing, comes in many flavors. It's very personal. So if it doesn't have the intended effect, then don't worry about that. But there are like universal themes, isolation, like these days, or personal loss, and these things that tend to resonate, and or even more so, actually, games about accepting or dealing with these moments. These maybe even more so, where they kind of mix the hopeful with the sad. It's these contrasts that kind of really make sad games work.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm so looking forward to what people will be making. And I feel like out of words, because I'm like so much into this. Like I said, there's so many things that are kind of sad, like so many games that are sad games, and so many sad stuff that are very valuable for us players in games. Like, for instance, for me in the Mirror's Edge, there is a story of sisters, and there was this emotional attachment, sadness. Like these are very valuable experiences with games, even though oftentimes we think about, for instance, like a decade ago, the design paradigm was that you always need to think whether it's fun. I mean, it's important for you as a game designer always immediately think about the fun. And I had a group of academic like peers, my co-workers, that they did a paper about the pleasure in games, and obviously pleasure comes in so many different forms. Like masochism can be part of this. So they listed a lot of different emotions in the games that they analyzed, but actual unofficial result of the paper, maybe they did say it in the paper as well, was that every single human motion could happen also in games. So it's not really like the pleasure, the plate of pleasure is just really vast that we can explore. And I think for the past 5-ish years or something, we've seen a lot of indie games, jam games, and everything that kind of, they don't have a pressure of commercial, because it can be quite difficult to, hey, with this game you become very depressed. Like the kind of it's easier to sell a product that is treating our narcissistic needs and not kind of this artistic, wow, that's a nice narcissistic and artistic, not the artistic needs or kind of self-expression things that the indie and art game scene is doing. They give us so much, like maybe 15 years ago we were talking about whether games can be art, and nobody really talks like that anymore. It's like, well, some games are art, some are not necessarily in the realm of art, but there is art inside in games. So it's like a versatile topic. But there's so much that the games can do, and already so many examples that do very interesting things with the very different design choices or design even conventions already. So
definitely, yeah. And I think it's about also like games gaining this maturity. They are more serious form of art, so you can have some other emotions than just pure fun, which is a little bit maybe like a cheap fun to go to some amusement park or whatever. But
yeah, roller coaster experiences with games for you to please all your kind of senses. One of the categories from Elisa was still the it's so sad it's funny. So the kind of combination of joke that is very prevalent in jam games also, because it is fun to make a joke game. Obviously, there's a fine line where it can be really tasteless if you do something without thinking about it too much, and it's not your personal experience. So it's like mocking someone by accident. So, for instance, the Inva Taxi in the Finnish Museum of Games, the shareware and freeware era. So it was like a bunch of teenage boys making games that are super inappropriate. So in a way, now that we retrospectively look at it, it's a very sad game. It exposes the certain thinking era of how we approach disabilities. So in a way, it is, in retrospective, it's a very sad experience to go through that, and maybe we would play that game with a very different lens now. So maybe you would not feel like, haha, disabled people. There's a good video from the museum kind of reflecting. There is the person with disabilities and then a media educator or game educator, and they reflect on the topic and their personal experiences with the game. So I mean, there's so much to really explore, and so many games that you can take as an example. And it doesn't need to be poetic only. So the sadness can be treated in contrast with cheerfulness or happiness or jokes. And I wonder also, like at these times of isolation, the longing game, maybe it gives you a certain kind of happiness even. Even it's not fun, but it's like it can feel very soothing. Yeah,
definitely. There's something very, like a bit like meditation in a way.
Meditational, yeah. So yeah, it's a little bit like it makes me think I have to reflect on this, and I'm looking forward to our chat when we review the games. There's gonna be so much to analyze, and we have great viewers also to give their analysis of the analysis of the passage was interesting, that how all the different like visual features also can contribute to metaphor. one thing that I kind of came to my mind with the it's so sad it's funny category is that Elisa, you probably also maybe have read the studies of laughter.
Some, yeah.
So I wonder, like for instance, sometimes this is like very rudimentary, like a high school psychology that I have. But is it so that sometimes laughter is the kind of defense mechanism of fear?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what is actually happening with humor and laughter? We are in an era where we're very worried about laughing at things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what happens with laughter, really?
Well, there are different theories and processes here. One is laughter is about relief of built up tension. Something is so like maybe like out of your control or something, but in a way you cope with it by laughing about it.
Yeah.
And in art psychology, for instance, in empirical aesthetics, there's been also some interesting discussions that like especially in modern art or maybe like in indie games, you encounter experiences that are kind of there's something discrepant or dissonant about them, and you kind of don't know what to make of it. And one way kind of distancing yourself from it and not being perturbed or disturbed by it is to laugh it off. And this can feel very, very relieving. However, there's also some discussion that laughing it off, you devalue the artwork, or you say, oh, it's just a game, it's just a joke.
Yeah.
And that you circumvent, or people who do that kind of circumvent the potential to think a bit more about, oh, well, what is the game? What is the point of there? What might be the designer's intent? And that could be interesting in itself. So, and it could be funny, but you kind of need to engage with it a bit more instead of just laughing it off. Even though it might be a bit more, there's more tension maybe or ambivalence involved first.
How would you say, like all your categories, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories? Is it possible to put them all into one game?
Oh yeah, there's definitely lots of overlap. So heavy themes, kind of contrasted with funny moments, and kind of end on a note where you kind of live with that sadness is a part of life. Bad things do happen, but that it's okay to cry and that you can live with it or accept it or overcome it. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so
there's a whole narrative arc there potentially.
So the categories already give a game idea in a way. So, but anyway, I think that we are so over time. We promised to give like 2-hour thing, but now we're like, it's my kind of original sin that when I get excited about a topic, then I just would talk forever. I'm sure, Elisa, that you would also talk about this forever because it is.
I have tons of games. It's crazy, yeah.
Yeah. But we have another chance in a week to continue chatting about this, and I would just like. I'm so excited to see what happens in the Jam projects. Like what kind of things there is. Like easy things to do. There are difficult things to do. Like I don't know what to say. Ville, say something.
What can I say? Like it's.
Like, how do we encourage everybody to participate and just make their games, and also not to lose yourself while you're doing that? If you're doing the therapeutic game, I mean, there is very big chance for you to get also very sad while you do the game.
Yeah, sure, but I guess it's an opportunity to share your experience as well.
Yeah. Always chance to discuss in the Discord if there is lots of sadness. You can share the feelings that you have when doing the game. So,
and we'll put the list of these games, and there are many of them had links, so we'll put that on the Discord too, so you can check the games yourself. I think it might be kind of very, valuable to look at these design examples and kind of precedents, so to speak, when you start designing, and just finding other. And maybe in Discord channels we could share more of the games. I already asked on the lobby, what is your most favorite sad experience with games or sad game? So I think we do need to wrap it up, even though there is not really a catharsis that was born out of this discussion.
That makes it even sadder, which is, I guess, a good way of ending today's meeting.
Living
talk.
with and accepting sadness. So thank you, Elisa, for explaining us different kinds of pathways for putting your games into sad mode, and kind of exploring different kinds of sadness in games.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me here.
Yeah, we'll see you again in a week. We'll give kind of a great luck to everybody working on your games and making teams. I don't know how many, like it's very typical for an online game jam to do solo jams too. That's completely okay. But it might be very interesting to try to do this together with someone.
Yes.
So Radia is saying that time to be sad for a week. Whoop whoop.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh dear God. So when we were deciding on this theme, we were thinking that, oh, is this too soon or something?
Yeah, too much.
To handle.
Yeah, but yeah, there are at least some people have been looking for making groups, so hopefully people can find some team. And there is a channel for GNOI2 teaming channel where you can discuss about forming teams, and we will soon share the Google Sheet where you can write all the team members and team name. And
I think that we had the address for the Discord channel, but you can find it from gamesnow.aalto.fi. So there is an invitation link to Discord if you're not there yet, to come and join us. And thanks for everybody in the chat as well. Yeah, too soon now feels like a good time to be sad about other things is a comment from Christopher Lundberg. So I think that we have good participants here and they can really handle this topic one way or another. I have no idea what to expect. So that's the thing. We will explore your games once they are submitted. You can submit early as well, so you don't have to wait for Sunday. And
yes, make us sad. I want to feel sad this week.
Yeah, about other things than well, maybe some of them will be exactly about this thing that makes us all sad. So yeah, that's about it. And
I shared his Discord link almost correctly.
Right. What do you mean almost? Is that the
because I lost
your promise with an adventure and it doesn't happen?
No. It was just like a H was missing from the beginning. But yeah, I shared it if someone is missing the Discord link. So in the chat.
All right. So there will be swag, the thing on the Ville's head, but you'll get your own in a plastic wrap. Then we also have this. How do I show them? There are more stickers that we will provide from sponsors on the games now.
Yeah, I made a sad game and one for these are mirrored.
So yeah, it's a little bit of physical things too. And now we lost Ville. So it's this time. No, Ville's back. We'll get you.
Yes,
we'll give you a channel in Discord to get the instructions of swag. I would say how to get the swag.
Yes. Yeah, we have. Yeah, we will raffle the caps. We have lots of jammers. So there's not that many of those, but we have lots of stickers and everything if you're interested.
Yeah. So on these times of online only, good to have some kind of tiny items that reminds us of the physical reality around us. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap it up, and let the creators to go loose with your SAT teams. So there's no additional thematic constraint. This can be considered as a thematic constraint as well. And with design constraint, we do mean that it's free to explore. So it's not, the word design constraint comes from design studies. It is constraining but not kind of restricting. So there's a lot for you to explore and add to your stuff. So you can pick one of the categories from Elisa, or you can maybe have your own view also. But we'll go back to the categories, I think, and we'll kind of try to reflect whether, like, how the games were exemplifying the categories. Categories were Elisa's own subjective categories, so obviously there will be other categories too about sadness in games. So, see you on Discord. We'll put this on YouTube at some point, so you can also point it to your friends, invite more jammers. It doesn't have to be today that you start. You can start tomorrow, for instance. You can go short jam, or you can go the entire week. And just give us a comment or questions if you are unaware or you need a little bit of support, like what you should do. And help others as well. That's the kind of ethos of game jams as well. Ville might have a very good poker face, or he's again frozen, but...
Yeah, it seems.
So, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, and see you in a week.
Take care.